Hi, I'm Erik Huberman. I'm from Santa Monica, California. I'm founder and CEO of Hawke Media, an outsourced CMO and marketing team. What was my first job? So, I had businesses and little things I did on the side before I ever could get a job. 8 years old, I was selling Beanie Babies and made a few $1,000 doing that. Did the lemonade stand thing like that. But the first job I was hired for was actually really funny because I worked for one day. I was hired as a busboy at 15 in a local Italian restaurant up in Ojai, and I broke my wrist the weekend after my first day. And I can't really bus with a broken wrist, so I couldn't work for a month and a half, and then they'd never put me back on the schedule. So I wouldn't know if I would call that my first job, because right after that I ended up getting a job at the local health food store in Ojai. Did everything from stocking shelves to cashier to taking delivery to working the deli. Was kind of a role player in the health food store for about a year. So after that, actually, I learned a really valuable lesson there. About 6 months in, I was told after 6 months is standard to get a raise, by this company, by this health food store. And so I was like, okay. And so 6 months came and went, and I went, I was making minimum wage still. And I was training someone that I found out I was making, I think it was at the time, minimum wage was $8.75. And someone started at $10 an hour that I was training. And I was like, what is this? I'm training you and you're making more than me. And so went to the GM, not angry, just was like, hey, what's going on? He's like, oh, good, I'm glad you came to me about this. I've been waiting for you to come to me, and he goes into this explanation that what came out was basically my manager, below him, above me, was taking credit for all the work I was doing and saying that I wasn't doing very much. So he was saying that he was the one stocking the shelves, that he had to pick up after me, that he was the one taking deliveries because I didn't, and it was just not true. And the guy, at the time, my boss, I was 15, 16. He was probably 23, the manager of a health food store. And he was covering his own butt. And I realized I didn't ever want to be in a position where my future, my reward was dictated by politics or by impressions people had. I wanted to be by results, and so that's where definitely both subconscious and even a little consciously, I was like, I don't either want to work for someone, and if I do, it better be a commission sales job. So I knew I'd be in sales or just an entrepreneur at that point. Well, so my first entrepreneurial business, I'd say, other than there were a couple things. One, it's 6 years old. I wanted to make some money, so I went around my parents' house, collected things I decided they didn't need anymore. Nothing big, but golf balls and little things around the house. And literally with a trash bag, walked door to door and just let people look in the bag and said, do you want to buy stuff? And made, I think it was it was 5 cents per item or something. So I made $1. I went with a friend, and I remember I had to split the money at the end, and I was pissed because I was like, but this is my family stuff. Why am I splitting the money with you? I had this gut that I'm not doing that again. So then opened the lemonade stand with, and also sold flowers there too. So I did both. And that was fun because I'd actually run in front of cars so they couldn't go. It was a stop sign, but they'd stop at the stop sign and then I'd stand in front of their car holding a glass of lemonade and a flower. And everyone was like, okay. So did okay there. But then at 8 years old, I wanted to get an electric guitar. And my dad said to me, good, get a job. And so I found that Beanie Babies were starting to get popular, and started buying and selling them. I didn't care about these little plush animals. I just was like, oh, way to make money. And so started buying and selling them, going to trade shows, going to different local stores that would buy them, selling on eBay at the time, and ended up making a few $1,000 buying and selling Beanie Babies. So yeah, Hawke Media got started. I had a background in e-commerce. I've had 3 e-commerce businesses. And after that, I was consulting and just saw that I was helping companies try to figure out how to grow, and it was big and small. I was working with Fortune 100s and some new startups as well. And it was always the same challenge across the board, which is when it came time to execute digital marketing, there's 2 options. One, hire in-house, which has a litany of problems. Finding people's tough, affording people and I don't mean Fortune 100s have the money, but making it pencil is tough. Even retaining those people, attracting all this talent, it was just really hard to get good marketers in-house. So the other option is agency. And through vetting dozens of agencies, I realized 95% of them have no clue what they're doing. It is a really bad problem out there that there are tons of people selling digital marketing services that have no idea how they work, why the people should use this. They just sell buzzwords. The other side of it, like the other 5% that are any good, tend to be either really expensive, want long contracts, or have some other barrier they put up that just makes them hard to work with. So it's a really frustrating point for me, because it just seemed to me like every other industry is about your customer or your client. It's all client-centric, it's all customer-centric. Yet when it comes to marketing agencies, they never seem to do things for the client. Having long contracts is not to protect the client, it's to protect you. Your high minimums, you're, venturing to just want to work with Fortune 500s and forgetting about smaller companies. These are all things they do for selfish reasons, not for altruistic reasons. So I realized there was an opportunity to start a team of people that could help these companies. And, we started with 7 people, each with a vertical expertise. It was like an email marketer, Facebook search, influencer, affiliate, web design, and overall strategy. And I went to these companies and said, hey, listen, everything's a la carte, month to month, cheaper than hiring in-house, but now you can spin up a team that fits the needs of your company in a way that, mimics hiring in-house, but doesn't have all the drawbacks of it, and, has the benefits of an agency, of the cross learnings and things like that, without all the drawbacks there. And so that's how we started. In under 3 years, we grew to 70 people so far on that model, and no funding. It was just, I truly believe we have a really good service. We execute what we say we're going to do. And frankly, the biggest piece is communication. We're really good at staying transparent and communicating what's going on. So a lot of companies have really enjoyed working with us, and we've built a reputation for it. So the services we work on that are in the highest demand, email marketing is number one. Actually, let me take that back. Strategy is number one. Like overall, just marketing strategy. We call ourselves an outsourced CMO. That piece is what people do with us more than anything. And most of the time we require it because we have so much insight into what's working in marketing. We want to make sure we have someone that has that high level knowledge managing the overall strategy. After that, email marketing as a specific service, it's the lifeblood of any e-commerce business. It's where, in any digital business, like that's where you're going to drive the most revenue and the most retention and be able to communicate in the most direct way. So email's huge. Plus, it's a little more objective, like where it's cut and dry. Like we're doing, we're designing emails, we're getting them executed, et cetera. So it's not as much of this like moving target. That is actually, from our business standpoint, where we have the highest retention of clients. I mean, our churn is like 5%, meaning the average client's sticking around like 20 months for email, which is a long time, seeing that the average CMO of a Fortune 500 lasts 18 months. So that's a good piece. But then Facebook is huge. Facebook and Instagram ads are definitely right now the best place to drive top of the funnel. And then we have a really good sized, influencer marketing side, and content marketing and web design are all big pieces as well, and search. The biggest challenge was people. And I actually used to say constantly that our challenge is always going to be people. My business is a business of people. Our product are people. So, where other companies will have manufacturing problems, supply chain problems, every one of those problems for us are people. So in the very beginning, the first 7 people we hired, out of those 7, one stuck around for longer than like 4 months. And that person became my business partner. The others, we had one guy call me on a Monday morning and tell me, hey, Erik, long story short, over the weekend I met a girl, fell in love, asked her where in the world she wanted to go. She said, Hawaii. We're here now. They got a selfie from the Waikiki Towers. I'll be working remotely this week. It's like at this point we had, 7 people. He was all over email marketing. And so I called him and I emailed him like, please get your work done, stay on top of him. He's like, I got it, don't worry. 2 days later, I get a call from every one of his clients saying, where the hell is this guy? I'm paying you for email marketing. I can't even get a hold of my email marketer. I call him and go, what are you doing? What's going on? And he goes, Erik, I need you to just respect this time right now. This is the happiest day of my life. I'm getting married. Yeah, didn't see him again, though he did think it was, he expected to come right back to work the next week. He didn't. He actually did come by, but I was like, yeah, you're not working here anymore. I didn't flip out on him. I was just like, that's the kind of stuff that then literally my business partner now went and learned email marketing over the weekend so that he could pick up the slack. Like he had no background other than like a little, he understood emails. He's a smart guy, but he had never used the softwares. He had never automated emails, but he dove in and figured it out. And so we worked through these things. But in the time, I remember that moment, my dad's a pretty successful entrepreneur, and I don't always call him for advice, but I called him freaking out a little bit. Like, what am I doing? Like, literally 4 out of 5 of my clients have called me freaking out. And if I lose them, we're done. So I was like, what do I do here? And he goes, oh yeah, that happens all the time. Anyways, I got to go. I'll talk to you later. And hangs up. And it was like a great reset of like, this is not going to matter in 2 days. Like you're freaking out right now, but like being level-headed was a big lesson early on. After that round of people, we got way better at figuring out what type of people we wanted to work with. And the hires we made right after that round of people are still with us today and now make up our executive team. First off, I really like the challenge. I mean, I have this kind of personal opinion. I mean, and I think a lot of people share this, that, you get one ride here, one life. Like, I like to try to take advantage of everything life has to offer. And I feel like, a lot of times going to a job, you don't get to do anything you want. Like, I sincerely, and don't get me wrong, it comes with challenges. You have to be ready for a roller coaster, but I really can do whatever I want. I deal with the consequences, but nobody's above me firing me or anything. So, that includes traveling, that includes, going the direction with the business that I think is going to be best. That includes all the problem solving. That includes hiring people to do the jobs I don't want to do as you build a successful business. So there's, this freedom that comes with it. Now there's also, it goes both ways. I don't get to check out. I don't go home at the end of the day. There's no, the work-life balance thing, I think, is, the antithesis of entrepreneurship. I think, for a proper entrepreneur, work and life mesh. And so what that means is I go do really fun, cool things that also benefit me with work. I go on these crazy trips with entrepreneurs. I'm going heliboarding at the end of January with a group of 15 entrepreneurs. That's going to be really fun, but I'm probably going to come back with business too. And these are just the things you can start to do as you build a business that, actually can service people. And so I see it with other types of businesses where, again, like, they hang out with the people they do business with, they have fun with the people they do business with, but then they go back to work. Like anyone else, you work in the office and you do the things that you don't necessarily want to do, the grind part of it, but then there's that freedom and that, like, collaboration between your life and your work that becomes pretty fulfilling. Yeah, so the future of Hawke Media, we're working on a few things. So one, like, my goal, we're not even 3 years into this. So there's a long ways to go to get where I even initially pictured it, because we'd like to be, 1,000 people. We're 70. Like, that's where we're going on the agency side. So we want this because what we feel is we've created, we've almost productized in a very powerful way marketing services that is now, they're attainable for people that wouldn't normally be able to hire a top agency. And we're building incredible training programs, incredible ways to continue to build what now we're starting to refer to as like the Bain or McKinsey of marketing. We want to be that place where we can take young people, train them for 6 months to a year, turn them into incredible marketers that still have supervision from even more better marketers, and build out this offering that's like, we can continue to build some of the best marketers in the world. And that's what we need to do to scale, but it's also something that could become very exciting, because if you, Bain or McKinsey, I mean, most of their employees are 23, 24, 22, but they bring such powerful consulting to companies, and that's what we're starting to emulate. On the other side, we're still very mission driven. We're here to grow revenues for businesses of all sizes. So that being said, we're building a software component so that we can actually like bring like all the things that we wish sites would be able to have, softwares that we're like, why doesn't anyone do this? We're just building it now and starting to roll out different SaaS products that actually help our customers. We're also, I got really good advice from the CEO of XPRIZE, Marcus Shingles, who said, what's going to be the Uber to your taxi company? Like, what's going to disrupt you? And I, frankly, he actually threw out distributed workforces and freelancers. I'm not worried about that because I frankly they don't have access to the data and the information we do. I also think there is actually a very powerful aspect to having people work in the same room. So that didn't worry me. What does is AI. I think that, probably 50% of our job in the next 10 years will be able to be done by computers. So so he looked at me in a very intelligent way and just said, so why aren't you building it? So we've started to build an AI platform as well that we're calling Hawke IQ. And that's, going to be a long project. Our first phase should launch in the next month and a half. But we're basically taking all the data, we're learning all the learnings of our people and training AI on marketing. So eventually we can have this artificially intelligent marketer that can do a lot of our jobs so our people can focus more on the creative, because that's really the concept we see as creative, and larger strategy will still come from people, but the little day-to-day lever pulling can come from a piece of AI. So company culture, I was lucky enough to, again, my business partner, one of our first hires that became the partner, his biggest priority is company culture and what we bring as far as a culture. And I've heard the cliche over and over again. It's such a buzzword, company culture, and it's something newer that people didn't talk about 10 years ago. And so, frankly, I kind of rolled my eyes at it, but went, sure, you do what you want to do. And then you start to see what that actually means. And company culture it doesn't necessarily mean dogs running around and music playing and a ping pong table, which we have all of the above. It's a set of values that affect the way your people work. So, we even have these posters on our wall now, but my business partner also established like our 3 hiring criteria very early on that has driven who our people are, which number 1, we want people that execute, that are hardworking. We have a poster on the wall that just says, get shit done. And we mean it. Like it's not about, don't get into analysis paralysis. We don't want to hear all sorts of reports. We want you to be executing. And so, if we hold that as a priority, all of a sudden we start hiring people, and if we reinforce that and tell them like, I don't care, get shit done, go execute, get it out, ship it, that kind of thing. What happens is when we accidentally hire someone that doesn't execute, they get kind of self-selected. Like people internally will be like, this person's not doing anything. Like again, that's where the culture thing comes in, is like they help us actually keep people executing, keep people going, but then also weed people out that aren't working. Number 2 that we had, the number 2 hiring criteria is always be learning. Like, learn quickly, figure things out, because as a marketing agency, things change all the time, and we don't hire for existing knowledge or skill. We have our VP of Ops now, but who became our head of media buying before that. She was working in retail before she joined us 2.5 years ago, and now Facebook flew her up to Palo Alto to help them design their certification program. Like it's things like that like you don't need someone that has years of experience in this stuff. You need someone that just learns quickly and works hard, and they're going to pick it up. And then the last piece of our culture, we actually have a poster of an iceberg on our wall that just says, be cool. And we do hire people. One of our gut checks is, would I want to grab a beer with this person? I don't even drink a lot of beer, but would I want to hang out with this person? Because it's, we're all stuck together all the time, every day, having to work through stuff. There's going to be pain points. There's going to be nightmares. There's going to be things falling apart. And if you're not working next to someone that you like and that you can hang out with and that you can communicate with, you're going to go crazy. On top of that, every one of our people are client facing. So if they can't hang and be cool with our clients and chill out and communicate well, then they don't have EQ is really what I'd say the more, direct term of that is. Then we're going to fall apart as well. So with those 3 values, we've really focused on that. We've really hammered that in, and I've seen it turn into now, 70 people. I don't have the time to coach every one of them on our culture and try to make sure that they're doing things right. But if you build that into the DNA of a company, it's self-selecting. And I do believe it's trickled down from the top, how the CEO, COO, how the heads of the company are. That's how the company's going to run. And so if we hold ourselves to the same accountability, it's going to trickle down, because we're going to hire people with those values and stay on top of them. They're going to hire people with those values and stay on top of them, et cetera. The growth hacking noise. I think that I frankly hate buzzwords. I think that growth hacking doesn't have a firm definition. So when people ask me about growth hacking, I think of it as product marketing, meaning like if growth hacking to me is not advertising, it's a piece of marketing. Because like your Facebook advertising is not growth hacking. There's no hacking. You're advertising, you're optimizing. Like the hacking to me is things like a referral program, building out a viral loop in an app. There's a lot of other things that I've seen people do, like developing bots to comb Craigslist, things like that. That to me is growth hacking. Is like it's kind of where development and customer acquisition meet, which is interesting. There's definitely things that you can do there that benefit the company. I haven't seen a lot of scalability in those kind of efforts. It's a great initial step and sometimes a great quick bump in customers, but the stuff, from what I've seen over and over again, the stuff that actually works in the long term are things, that like Facebook advertising, email marketing, et cetera. But, I think one of the most successful growth hacks is LinkedIn, when they just basically flooded your email box with invitations to everyone that you knew. And then from there, their second kind of renaissance was they did the whole you're the top 5% of your network and things like that, which brought back LinkedIn to being used by the masses and has sustained that since. So those are growth hacks. Those are absolutely growth hacks. That's, and it's again a part of marketing, but I think people need to be careful to just look for a growth hacker when they're early stage versus really set a foundation for scaling marketing. I'm Erik Huberman, and thank you for having me.